Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday evening meeting of the Golden Speakers Toastmasters Club. My name is Rick Starr, and it's my great pleasure to introduce the president of our club, Jean Symington Craig.
Well, welcome, everyone. We're Golden Speakers Toastmasters in Fairfield. We meet every Tuesday, 7:45 to 9:15 in the Hy-Vee Community Club Room on the west side of the store. Kept myself from saying the west side of the square because that seems to be my habit. For those of you that are at home, or if you have friends, this is where we are. We're here every week. We do have one footnote to that, and we can talk about this at the end and take a vote, but the officers had a meeting right before. We had a very productive meeting. We have a very good set of officers, actually. And one of the items was the discussion around not having our meeting the Tuesday, December 22nd, the week of Christmas, because of people being either having guests in or traveling other places, and actually on the officer group there were a number of people who wouldn't be there. So keep that in mind, and then we'll take a vote at the end and just see where we are with that. However, the following week between Christmas and New Year's, the 29th, we're on for that. So that one Tuesday, the 22nd, would be a day off for the holidays. The mission of a Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. Let's hear it for our mission. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get our meeting started. Our Toastmaster for the evening is our intrepid Rick Starr. Let's welcome him up.
Thank you, Madam President, fellow Golden Speakers, and viewers at home. We'll start out the meeting by introducing our role players, and it's my pleasure to introduce the timer for tonight, Mr. Art Atkinson.
Good evening, Toastmasters. I will be timing every speaker this evening. Table topic speeches will be 1 to 2 minutes in length. The green light, which I'm not able to make operate correctly, will be turned on at 1 minute. So instead, you'll see the green signal card at 1 minute. The yellow card will show at 1 minute 30 seconds. And the red card will show at 2 minutes and remain on until you stop speaking. Prepared speeches are usually 5 to 7 minutes in length. Tonight we have a much longer speech, which will be 15 to 20 minutes in length. So, unless I'm told otherwise, the green card will show at 15 minutes, the yellow at 17 minutes, and the red at 20 minutes and remain on after the speaker, until the speaker stops. Evaluations are 3 minutes. The green card will show at 2 minutes, the yellow card at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The red card will show at 3 minutes and remain on until the evaluator stops speaking. Every speaker has a 30-second grace period after the red card is shown to wrap it up and the remaining qualification for the awards at the end of the meeting. And I'll be giving a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Art. Now, our grammarian, Mr. Will Burns.
Thank you, Rick. So my job as the grammarian is to provide you with a word of the day, and today it's more like words of the day. So we got the word of the day, which is trepid. It means fearful, and for example, the use of it in a sentence would be, I still feel trepid the night before a big speech. You can also use trepidation, and as our president, Jean, illustrated, I will also accept intrepid, which means feeling no fear, or feeling the absence of fear. Good job, Jean. I also will keep track of any colorful uses of language, any turns of phrase that I particularly like, and will give you a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Will. Our eye-cantor this evening is Stuart Stroud.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Viewers at home, excuse that. Without trepidation, I will record those nasty little ahs and ums that disrupt our beautiful flow of speaking. Thank you.
Later on, we'll hear from the general evaluator, Emery, and our greeter, joke master, Dan, who says he has a bad joke for us this evening. And now it's time for the prepared speech section of the meeting. Our speaker tonight is Louis Denbaum. Louis will be delivering speech number 2 from the Professional Speaker Advanced Manual called An Entertaining Speech. The speech will be 15 to 20 minutes long. Louis's objectives for the speech are entertain the audience through the use of humor drawn from personal experience and from other material that he has personalized. Deliver the speech in a way that makes the humor effective and establish personal rapport with his audience for maximum impact. To set the stage for this speech, please imagine that you are at a dinner table as part of your attendance at the annual Iowa Automobile Dealers Association convention. At this time, please welcome Jyoti Raj, who will introduce Louis.
Our speaker tonight is Louis Denbaum. Louis is graduated from the University of Iowa School in 1983 with highest honors. That same year, Louis received his master's in accounting from the University of Iowa School of Business. Louis has worn many hats: CPA, CFO, CEO, lawyer including general counsel, entrepreneur, trainer, law school professor, and presently communication consultant. Louis is the co-author with his wife Diane of the book Madly in Love Forever, A Guide to True and Lasting Love. Louis has been a resident of Fairfield, Iowa since 1996. He and his wife Diane have a blended family of 5 young adult children. Please help me warmly welcome Louis Denbaum.
Thank you, Jyoti Raj, for that wonderful introduction. It's great to be here. I hope you've enjoyed your dinner tonight. By the way, how many of you drove to this convention? Raise your hands. All right, good, everyone. I was just checking to see if anyone is using a competing mode of transportation. And I tell you, I drove here, and thank God the hotel has valet parking, because I had just enough time to get here. So I pulled up in front of the building, and the parking attendant came out. He said, "Sir, can I park your car?" And I said, "You know, just leave it here with the engine running, because I'm going in to give a talk before the Iowa Automobile Dealers Association. And if they don't like the talk, I want to be able to make a quick getaway." Speaking about parking, Have you ever wondered why we drive on parkways and park on driveways? What's up with that? A friend of mine was in Dubuque the other day. He had a really important business meeting planned. He was dressed up in a suit and tie. He had his briefcase. He was so excited. He was psyched for this business appointment. This could really turn his business around. He gets to Dubuque, he gets in front of the building, and he doesn't see any parking garage. So he drives around, he's looking to park his car on the street. No parking spaces available. So he goes down a different street, nothing. Goes the other way, nothing. He's getting really frustrated. Finally, he looks up and he says, God, if you will just find me a parking space, I will go back to church. And about 5 seconds after that, a car pulls out and he says, forget it, God, I found my spot on my own. I hear that we might be getting some snowy weather. So just remember to keep in mind that there's alternate side of the street parking for snow emergency days. Last year in Davenport, it's a husband and wife, they were having breakfast together. It was a winter day. They had the bacon going and the eggs, the coffee, just having a nice mellow breakfast together. Then the radio announcer came on and said, we have a winter advisory in effect. Please park your car on the even numbered side of the street so the snow plows can get through. Wife jumps up, goes out, puts her car on the even numbered side of the street so the snow plows can get through. The next week, they get another storm. And again, as their habit is, they're listening to the radio during breakfast, and the announcer comes on and goes, please park your car today on the odd number side of the street because we have a snow emergency in effect. We need the snow plows to be able to get through. So she jumps up, says, I'm going to put the car on the odd numbered side of the street. Okay? A few more weeks go by, and yet this is a bad winter, last winter. Another warning. Please park your car today on the, and then they lose power. The lights flicker, the lights go off, the radio goes off, and the wife is just befuddled. She says, hubby, I don't know where to park the car. I didn't hear the announcement. And he looks at her and says, honey, why don't you just leave the damn car in the garage this time? You know, I know you all, when you sell your cars, you like to tell us as customers, hey, this car can go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. You tell us how fast these cars can go. And then where the heck are you when we get our speeding tickets? Now, I love it when you get pulled over by a cop. What do? First question out of their mouth is, where are you going? And just once I feel like saying, well, officer, I'm on my way to a bank robbery. So can you please write this ticket quickly? Because I'm the getaway car and I need to be there in 10 minutes. Then they always follow it up with a second question. The second question is, you know why I pulled you over? And just one time I feel like saying, well, I was speeding, but maybe it was because I plowed through that stop sign 5 blocks back. And I guess could be because I'm not wearing my seatbelt. So the other night in Fairfield, husband and wife are driving at night and they get pulled over. Police officer gets out of his car, walks up to the driver's side window. And the husband says, What seems to be the problem, officer? You were going 75 in a 55-mile zone. Oh, it can't be, officer. I was only going 65. And the wife pipes up. Harry, you were going 80. Shut up, woman. And I'm also going to give you a ticket, sir, because your taillight is broken. Officer, that can't be. I wasn't aware of a broken taillight. Harry, you've known about that broken taillight for months. Shut up, woman. Finally, sir, you were not wearing your seatbelt. It's a third infraction. Officer, that's not quite true. I took my seatbelt off when I stopped after you pulled me over, and while you were walking to the car, I took it off. Oh, Harry, you never wear a seatbelt. Shut up, woman. Ma'am, does your husband always talk to you like that? No, officer, only when he's drunk. Also in Fairfield, there must be a lot of drinking going on in this town of Fairfield. Another person was pulled over. He was swerving all over the road. The officer pulled him over and said, the officer walked to the car with a breathalyzer and said, sir, you're going to have to breathe into this breathalyzer. Oh, officer, I can't do that. I'm asthmatic, and I could get an asthma attack if I blow into that tube. Well, I guess I'll just have to take you down to the station and give you a urine test. Officer, I can't do that either. Why not? Because I'm diabetic. If I pee into a cup, I could get low blood sugar and pass out. Well, we could do a blood test. I can't do that, officer. I'm a hemophiliac. If you prick my finger, I could bleed to death. All right. We can do this the old-fashioned way then. Get out of the car and walk that white line. Can't do that either, officer. Why not? Because I'm drunk as a skunk. Brought you guys a little present here, in honor of you being car dealers. Another thing that you guys are good at is praying for us when we buy a car from you, because you know that there's a chance that we might get into an accident. But I know, even though most of you are really good people, that there's at least one of you out there that when you see a car accident, you're happy because you say, hey, that person needs a new car. But I know most of you don't feel that way. Now, I got into a car accident last year. It was the summertime, and I treated myself to a new car, a Mercedes convertible SLK 350, red, a beauty. We did all the paperwork, handed me the keys, opened the car door, and get that blast of that new car smell. I love that new car smell that lasts for a couple of months. And I take the key, and this is what it sounded like. And I took off in that car 60 miles an hour. And I got the hood down, and I'm feeling good. Wind is blowing my bald head, and I'm enjoying myself. And I say, you know what? Let's see what this baby can really do. And so I slam on the accelerator, and the car takes off. I'm going about 95 miles an hour. I happen to look in my rear view mirror, and of course, what do I see? There's an Iowa State trooper. His light is flashing, and the whir, 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 the siren is going. And I'm thinking, hey, this SLK 350 can beat this guy. So I floor the thing, and it takes off, and I'm going about 120 miles an hour. I'm looking out the windows and thinking, whoa, it's kind of blurry here. It's like, what am I doing? I'm too old for this nonsense. I'm just going to take the ticket. So slow the car down. I pull over next to the curb, waiting for the trooper to come to me. And sure enough, he pulls in right behind me, comes out, walks over to my window, says, you know, I got 30 minutes left on my shift. It's Friday. I'm looking forward to the weekend. If you can give me a good reason why you were speeding, and it's something I haven't heard, I'll let you go. So I say, well, officer, last week my wife ran off with a state trooper, and I thought you were bringing her back. He said, all right, you're free to go. Now, I did have an accident. You see, I was going to work, and it was rush hour, and the traffic was really slow, bumper to bumper. And I was lost in thought. I was thinking about my day. I had a proposal to get on somebody's desk, and I had a bunch of phone calls to make. So I'm just thinking, like, wow, what's my day going to be like? And the next thing I know, boom, I ran into the back of the car in front of me. Well, I get out, and the driver in front of me gets out. He's a dwarf. He walks to the back of the car, and he's inspecting his damage. And then I walk over, and he says, I am not happy. So I said, well, then which one are you? I heard about another accident in Cedar Rapids. Actually, now that I think about it, it was Iowa City. And there was one car coming this way and one car coming this way, and they smashed into each other in the intersection. Both cars were demolished. But it was miraculous. 2 people come out of both of the cars, unscratched. One of them looks at the other and says, he sees a collar, he says, you're a priest, aren't you? He says, yes. He says, I'm a rabbi. Isn't this miraculous that God brought us together so that we could meet each other and live in peace, because we both got out of these cars unscathed and they're completely demolished? Yes, Rabbi, I agree with you. This is a miracle. We were meant to become friends. The rabbi says, and there's another miracle going on here. Look, my car is demolished, but there's a bottle of Manischewitz wine, and it's not broken. That's a miracle. So he picks up the wine, and he says, I think God meant for us to have a celebratory glass of wine because we are meeting each other. So he hands the bottle to the priest. The priest takes the cap off, takes a few big swigs, hands the bottle to the rabbi. The rabbi puts the cap on, gives it back to the priest, and the priest says, Rabbi, aren't you going to have a swig or two? Nah, I think I'll wait until after the police report. So, safety is really important to me. You know, when I get into my car, I'm kind of like a pilot, and I like to check my equipment and make sure that it's all in good working condition. The other day, I'm driving, getting ready for a trip with my wife. And I say, honey, I need you to help me out here. I want to check my directionals. Can you go behind the car and tell me if it's working or not? So I flip my right directional. And she yells out to me, it's working, it's not, it's working, it's not. Little slow there, but you got it. So I know that all of you are looking forward to a wonderful holiday season. I wish that you have a safe holiday season a healthy holiday season, and that you sell a lot, get it? A lot of cars. I better get going. My car is in the parking lot with the engine running. Thank you very much.
Mr. Timer, could you time us for 2 minutes? Let's take 2 minutes and fill out an evaluation card for Lewis. Mr. Timer, did the speaker qualify?
Speaker qualified.
Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the general evaluator for tonight, Emery Stark.
Mr. Toastmaster, greetings fellow members and our guests at home. As Rick said, I am the general evaluator, and my job is to mainly evaluate the evaluators. It's a job I face with less trepidation than I did the first time I did it. And another thing that the general evaluator does is to offer any suggestions that will help us skate through the meeting more easily. And in case you didn't catch the theme of the meeting, it's winter sports. I won't hammer that anymore. I would now like to call our first evaluator, Mr. Joe T. Roger.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests and viewers at home, and Lewis. It was really an entertaining speech and very professional as you dressed, as you spoke, and you looked like a very professional speaker. I'll follow the manual and I have a few suggestions. I'll present at the end of my evaluation. Was the opening handled? How was the opening handled? Was it effectively? If not, why? You started with the question and with the humor, and that was a very good start, and I give a point on that you put the attention of audience right away, and that was a good technique of asking a question. I'll take the second question after some time. What indicated to you that the audience was entertained? What indicated to me that audience were entertained? Because people were laughing. Everybody was leaning toward you, and they wants to listen more. That was the indication that everybody was entertaining. So overall, the speech was very entertaining, and it was a very good speech, and it was entertained. I want to highlight two things. Apart from all this, you did a fabulous job, no doubt, but I want to highlight two points. One is from the manual. I see your purpose in giving a humorous presentation is not primarily to provide the audience with the insight and a deep understanding, but to engage them in an interesting diversion. That you did very correctly. But this does not imply that the speech must be devoid of meaning. Instead, the meaning should not be the major focus of the speech. It indicates that the speech should also have some meaning. And the second point here, it says in the manual, in creating and presenting humor, it is not a matter of simply thinking of finding jokes and somehow trying to fit them into your presentation. In fact, it's the other way around. You have to first develop your message, a clear storyline and a basic narrative or dialogue, then look for the humorous punctuation of the flow of your presentation. So what does it mean is, I heard a lot of series of jokes and puns and punchlines, but what I understood is that is to be fit into the speech, to entertain, and there should be some message. It was really entertaining, but that is only my suggestion, that if you have some message and fit all the jokes and puns and your punchlines into that message, that would be more fan of speech. That is only my suggestion. Thank you.
And the next portion of our meeting is table topics. And I believe our table topics master has arrived.
Yes.
Ryan Pron Miller.
All right, everybody, this is the meeting portion where we get to practice our impromptu speaking skills. We're all familiar with table topics. It's just a way to get a theme, an object, a subject, and just run with it. So tonight's theme, as we have hammered in, is winter sports, and I would like to go off that theme, talk about the table topics tonight, and I was proposing this question. If you had some winter adventure where sometime in the winter, you're having an adventure, whether it be snowboarding or skiing or mountain climbing or trying to get your car shoveled off, anything, something in your past. You had this winter experience of a challenge, and you wanted to, figure out how to fix the problem, or some adventure. Just talking about adventure tonight. That's the theme. You're trying to accomplish a goal in the winter, but it's not always easy because the winter is winter. So that's the question that I'd like to pose, and I've also got these cards which I've made up, and they are pictures of various winter sports and things, and you can it's the variation on the grab bag, but these are pictures that you can choose from. So this is one option, and I've got a couple of quotes too. So just took this and just turned it into an art project. But so you can pick from this or from the quotes. I'm going to throw that. That's the introduction to table topics tonight. So is anybody interested in trying their luck at one of these options here? And of course, you can always segue. All right.
I'm the evaluator, so
You can. Okay, well, very good. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got a lot of options here, so if you don't like an option, you can give it back and try a new one. All right, you want the card or do you want the quote?
We'll try the card,
All right.
because I'm very impressed with you.
Pick door number 1.
Door number 1.
Another card here. Perfect!
All right. That's good. You like it. Enjoy.
The challenge was to get the longest sled run through our neighborhood, through woods, over rocks, with people hanging off the back, long chain. This was in Pennsylvania, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. The picture I have is a young lady on a saucer, craning down. I'm going to tell you right now that for precision work, a saucer is not it. A saucer, you pretty much get in, and yeah, there are things you can do. It's kind of like surfing. You can use a little bit of hip action and get yourself to turn like that. But for really serious movement through the snow, you need one of those sleds. And I forget the name of it, but we all had one of those things with the, what was that name of that brand? Flyer.
Flexible flyer.
Yes, incredible metal things. And I happened to grow up where there was snow in the wintertime, lots of snow. Pennsylvania, way more snow than Iowa, in my opinion. Schools would be canceled. And all the neighborhood kids, we would aggregate at the top of a bunch of houses that had wood backgrounds. So you didn't have to go on the street, you could go down the back, and it would just be incredible. And somebody would start running and you had your certain launch technique and you take your sled and you run along and you throw yourself on it and then someone's running behind you and catching their feet and hooking the feet into the sled and you're going down and you're trying not to hit trees and whiplash around and you get to the bottom. It was just so exhilarating. Yes, it wasn't solving any particularly huge problem, but the challenge was there. The snow had fallen, the backyards were calling, kids were out, we were out of school, and it was time to rock and roll down that hill one way or the other, and we got really good at it. Thank you, Mr. Table.
All right, next up, who's ready for some snow sports? We've got 6 more sports and a bunch of quotes. So if you're the doer, are you raising your hand?
I was not, but I'll
No, he
participate.
was.
Okay. Sure looked great to us.
Okay, what's your pick, buddy? You gonna do for the cards or for the quotes?
Quotes.
Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 quotes.
Number 5.
5, 1, 2, 3.
Please.
Okay. This quote is from FDR, and it is the following: Franklin Delano Roosevelt. When you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. So with that quote, you know, see how it resonates with you in some experience that you've had, and how it relates to a winter adventure from your past. Or you can just take the quote and just talk about it, how it relates to your life.
A few things come to mind. Excuse me. One semester at Charmer College in Waukegan, Illinois, I was going through a rather dark time, and one of my humanities instructors said, "Deward, don't despair too profoundly." So she helped me tie my knot. I'm going to record that so. It's a wonderful message of trudging ahead. And even when you're in a situation where nothing's coming to mind, you might tie the knot a little tighter. And just grab hold and perhaps swing out of view. I think I can do it in this setting. It brings to mind a quote by Marcus Aurelius that one of my instructors used in a humanities course. If the pain in life becomes too much, in life, you die. And if the pain isn't that great, you can move on. Not exact his exact words, but we do what we can. So sometimes at the end of the rope you have to tie the knot a little tighter and make it a little bigger, and hopefully swing. Thank you.
All right, we have about 3 more minutes, I think, so we can do maybe. Oh, we can do more. Okay. Anybody interested? And I can start calling people. Will, do you have the roll tonight? You have the tabletop.
Oh, we got it.
Doll. All right. So again, it's flexible. You can pick from a quote, you can pick from a picture, anything, or you can segue. Picture, okay. All right. Why don't you get? Okay, this is from Happy Gilmore, and it's a movie. Quote is, there's a quote within the quote. Damn it, is that a goal is that goal regulation size or what? It's about hockey. So if you know anything about ice hockey, we can talk about ice hockey. Nothing, okay. No ice hockey experience. Oh yeah, you can segue, right. So I'm gonna give you the card anyway, and you can just segue if you're interested. Or you can talk about ice hockey.
Good evening, Toastmasters, viewers at home. I do not know anything about this ice hockey. That's how it was when I landed to Fairfield, not knowing how it would feel when it snows. But then the first snow experience was good, enjoyed. The first time I knew about skiing was through my kids at school when they were going to the private school here at Mercy School, where there was a little hilltop where kids used to, during the lunch break, they used to go and bring their sledges and go sledging down the hill. I used to wonder how the kids would go out in this cold weather because I used to feel so freezing inside the closed walls. So, but then one Saturday evening, my kids wanted to go badly, and I was forced to go out with my kids, which I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it. But then I was 3-layered, nicely dressed, and with my coat on and my boots all tucked in, and I went there. We went on top, we drove there and we got there, and then we walked to the hilltop. And by the time I walked, it's not very far, as you people here must know that it's not very far to walk the hill. But then by the time I walked the hill, I was so freezing to death. I was like, my hands were frozen. I couldn't even feel my fingers. My toes were like in pain. But my kids really wanted to do it, so I was like praying to God, oh my God, I should just be safe here and be able to drive back home. And then kids went down the sledge and they're having fun and they're shouting and screaming, and like I couldn't tolerate seeing them. At last, then I thought, let me also try. What's that so much fun about it? I went down to the sledge, and it was amazing experience that I had. Then when I walked back, climbing the hilltop, I felt so good because I used a lot of energy and it was warming up and I could feel my fingers. That was a very nice experience. So that was one.
Okay, so anybody else? We got still a few minutes here. Is that clock broken? Seems like we've been.
It's 8:30.
Okay, it's 8:30. I thought it was. Okay, so we've got plenty of time. Anybody else? How about Will? You can go. Join us for a table of topics. All right. Quote or card for the winter sports?
You pick.
I'll pick. All right. Let's see. All right, I'll give you a quote.
All right.
And the quote, you want me to pick the number 2? Or do you want, okay. All right, I'll pick you something good here. Find you a good quote. Here's one, okay. Does anybody know Dave Barry?
Yeah.
All right. He says, the problem with winter sports is that, follow me closely here, they generally take place in the winter. So that's the quote. And if you don't like it, you can segue, but if you like it, you want to run with that, go for it. All right.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests, and viewers at home. This quote feels like it should really have gone to my predecessor, who would do a great job with explaining how fun that experience is if it wasn't so darn cold out. But I'm reminded of an experience I had in which the winter played an element. We had a small hill beside my house. It was nothing to write home about, nothing legendary like the one on the campus here in town. But it was a little hill, and I was young, and I enjoyed it. But there was no snow. There was no snow, so I played outside without any snow. But my dad despaired because I didn't have any snow. I couldn't go sledding. This was a disaster. So he ended up actually watering the hill to make sure it was all set up. But by that time, I was done. I was kind of getting a little cold myself. I was, getting a little tingling in my fingers and toes. So I wanted to go in, but he insisted because he had spent time doing this. So I said, fine. I got on my sled, and I took off, went down this. That thing was pure, slick, grease lightning ice. I went down that thing, popped up. I swore I was probably about a foot off from the seat. It went down on my tailbone, went inside, and I was angry. I was too young to use words I might use today. It was a memorable experience, but at least I can share this story with you today. Thank you.
Experience of the problems of winter, for sure. I think Dave Barry would agree with you. That's not fun. Okay. Anybody else? We've got Embry, come on up. All right. You want to draw a card? It might be
Pizza boxes.
Yeah, might be $1 million, award or something. Yeah, okay. Keep it, okay.
Well, my card is a snowboard, fellow members and viewers at home. And I think we had a Dave Barry quote on our agenda about snowboarding. He said something to the effect that it's a sport for people who don't, a winter sport for people who don't feel like skiing is lethal enough. So snowboarders are folks who know no trepidation. I have a couple of thoughts about snowboarding. One is that my daughter spent a year out at Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, and during that time she bought a snowboard. Very nice snowboard, very expensive boots to snowboard with, very expensive snowsuit. And I think I probably had a part in paying for that, if memory serves. Flagstaff is an area that usually gets a heck of a lot of snow, but it didn't that year. And she hardly used the snowboard. And when she came back to Iowa, the snowboard ended up in the rafters of our garage. And eventually we had a garage sale, and we happened to have a couple of young Mormon missionaries, a pair of young men living in the apartment building across the street from us, and they came over to our garage sale. And they had grown up in ski country, and they saw that snowboard, and they got on their cell phones and called their buddies, and they knew they had a bargain. And then what tickled me, because they're nice guys but they're very straight-laced, they started talking about how they were going to hide that snowboard from the elders of the church who came to check on it. But we sold them that snowboard for a bargain price, and they left happy, and I got to see a different side of the Mormon missionaries. Thank you.
few options here. Okay, come on up, Dan. That's your selection. Quote or card? Quote. All right. Would you like me to pick, or do you want to pick
Go ahead,
it? Or, okay. Let's see. Okay. So this. Okay. You've got to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. Yogi Berra. You've got to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. All right, that's it. That's what we got today.
Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. I'm not sure what Yogi Berra has to do with winter sports. But he is a very entertaining guy, Yogi. He had a lot of wonderful sayings. He also said that he probably didn't say half the stuff he said. And somebody told the story, I think it was just last week, somebody told the story about his wife trying to get him to decide where he wanted to be buried, and he finally said, "Just surprise me." A very funny guy. I'm going to segue a little. When I was a kid, my favorite sports team was the New York Yankees. It was the era with Yogi Berra as the catcher, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, Tom Trash, Bill Skowron. It was really quite an amazing team. And the interesting thing about Yogi Berra, who's always kind of the object of fun and so on, is what a great baseball player he was. He's one of the best hitting catchers that ever lived. He won so many World Series rings, I don't think he had enough digits to put them all on. And he was inducted to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, I'm sure. So I really like Yogi. I love baseball. I don't like the Yankees anymore, but back then, what a team. They were really something. But I like Yogi because he was that great mix of real humor, but real talent. A dynamite player who was fun to watch. Thank you.
All right, so far this game hasn't failed totally. I think we're doing pretty good. We've got, people are responding well to the questions. Are we done?
Yep.
Okay, all right. It's 8:40.
Oh, just talking about the schedule, okay?
Okay, one more, last,
Yeah.
anybody, any excited volunteers? Oh, yeah, Rick, so-
Art.
okay, all right, okay, here we go. All right, so, what do you want, a card or a
I'll pull a
question?
card.
Okay, pick a card, here we go. Try it. There you go. We just talked about snowboarding, so if you want to try a different card, we can do that.
Can't even tell what this is.
Oh, that's just a pizza box. It's cardboard. This is the snowboard. This is not a plug for Pizza Hut.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right, there we go.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. What I've got here is a picture of a couple of guys who apparently have gone fishing They're sitting next to the river, enjoying the warm sun, sitting there in their lawn chairs. This is my idea of winter sports. I just detest being cold so much more than being hot. I don't know, something about my constitution, I think. I just don't do well getting cold. But I'm reminded about my own encounter with winter. When I was about 26, I spent the winter taking care of a ranch in the Coast Range of Oregon. I was 20 miles inland from the Pacific Ocean, and if you've ever been to the Pacific Ocean and the Pacific Northwest, it's cold water. So it's not like you go to the beach at this part of the coastline. So I was 20 miles inland on a piece of property that you could not get to during the winter because you had to ford a river, and the river was pretty high during the winter time. 80 acres of land, and it snowed that winter 2 feet deep, 3 feet deep, and it stayed on the ground for about 3 weeks. Now, it had been 90 years since there had been snow in that part of Oregon that winter, and the whole wood pile that we had, we were living in a little shack that was designed to be lived during the summer. And it was some clapboards on 2x4s. There was nothing to it. It would have been a great place to stay during the summer. And we huddled around the wood stove and burned the entire wood pile in about the first 4 days of this cold weather. And then my job was to go out and cut green alder and keep that wood furnace going. And I tell you, I got to hating being cold so much during that winter. But what was really cool was just how people warmed up to each other and became a community. People who wouldn't talk to each other when the weather was good were high-fiving and saying hi and greeting each other. Mr. Table Topics.
I'd like to welcome back tonight's general evaluator, and that is Emery. Yes, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I get a time on or to see if everyone qualified for table topics?
Everybody qualified.
Everybody qualified. Wonderful.
I'm sorry. Our Indian guest here, whose name I haven't learned yet, was 2 seconds over the limit.
So if we could vote for.
Could you read the names?
Yeah.
Okay, table topic speakers are Jean, Dewar, well, virtually everybody in the room. And your name, please, is?
Andal.
Andal, Will, Emery, Dan, me. Lewis escaped.
I did.
So how many are there?
So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Seven qualifying. Seven qualifying.
Bonus moments.
Excellent. All right, so let's take 2 minutes to cast our vote and.
The votes collected.
They are.
Okay. We will now call forth Jean Symington Craig, our table topics evaluator.
What should be the time allocation, given that you have 7
6.
people?
I'm not gonna do myself. Unless you want me-
5 minutes.
No, well, 3 to 4 maybe.
4.
3 to 4. I like to go fast. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, that was a really interesting table topics, Ryan Prana, and really well prepared. Going right into it, and I don't have all the pieces that I'd like, but I'm gonna go at Dewar. He got the bit about tying the knot at the end of the rope if you're losing your rope. And he gets points because he kept using that analogy, even as in fact, he was demonstrating it as he couldn't think of anything to say. So he was really directly showing us how it looks when you're at the end of your rope, and he kept coming back to that. So that was really, really nicely done. My suggestion to him would be sure to use, if needed, but the 30 seconds prior to when you have to start being timed, to try to think of something. It's amazing how much 30 seconds will give you if you use it. You're aware of that? You can do that?
Yes.
Okay, so when the clapping stops, you still can be thinking. On ice hockey, really nice segue, because she went from, got a card about something she knows absolutely nothing about, so she said, I don't know anything about hockey, and then she rolled it, I also didn't know anything about snow when I came here, and that led into a story about winter with her kids, so she really took it right down the road like that, and that was really well done. She didn't just go, I don't want to talk about that, I'm going to talk about this. She rolled with it and got to where she wanted to go. Very nicely done. And good gestures. She had frozen hands and she was warming up and all that stuff, so that was really fun. Might want to have it, since the theme is posted, winter sports, it could be that we all come here with a story or two that relates to the theme, and then if you get something and you want to just use it to shoehorn in your story, that is great, as long as it fits. That's why we have the theme posted. Will did the Dave Barry quotes about sports. Too bad winter sports happen in the winter. Got that question? And he had a great story with took it into the, he agreed the winter sports were challenging. He had good gestures, tingly fingers. I was laughing. I think I've laughed the hardest with Will, so I've laughed in a long time with that image of that kid on the flying through the ice. Didn't have a suggestion, didn't quite get that. I was too busy wiping my eyes from laughing. Emery also had talked about a Dave Barry quote, because he got the picture of the snowboarding and gave just a very warm story about family and snowboards, things like that. The suggestion I would use for, and Emery's got that, you could just feel like you could just sit up, pull up a chair around the campfire and just listen to Emery all evening. The way he tells stories, he's got that good old boy kind of sound to him. It's just great. So I'm tinkering with something that probably doesn't need to be fixed all that much, but I'm just going to suggest vocal variety. Some things where you could try to put some dialogue and tones into people's voices in the stories. You know, Bobby, do you see what's up there in that thing? Do you see that? So use some other techniques like that to build out the story. Excellent storytelling, though. Dan got the Yogi Berra quote, and he chose to focus on the guy who gave the quote, which is another legitimate way to do a segue. Really some interesting segues here tonight. And he gave good feedback, and he had some nice Yogi Berra things going on. Suggestion again would be just to have a couple of winter sports stories or theme-related stories in your pocket. So if you do get caught with something you know nothing about, you maybe can get it to a story that works for you. And then finally, Art fishing on the river. Did another great segue, just how this is what I would like to be doing, and it's sunny, it's not cold, and then went into the story. Again, great use of segue. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, it's now time to vote for the best evaluator, but I should first find out if our evaluators qualify.
With 3 to 4 minutes for Jean, she qualified, and Jyoti Raj qualified, so we have 2 evaluators.
Jean and Jyoti Raj. Okay, we're back. It's now time for our reports from our role players. Could we start with our timer, Art Atkinson?
So our Parent speaker tonight, Lewis, spoke on 15 to 20 minutes requested, spoke 16 minutes, 11 seconds. Table topic speakers, Jean spoke for 2 minutes 13, Deward for 1 minute 40, Andal for 2 minutes 32, Will for 1:49, Emery for 2:02, Dan for 1:58, myself for 2:29. Evaluators, Jyoti Raj spoke for 2 minutes 58. Jean spoke for 4 minutes and 23. That's my report.
Thank you. And our grammarian, Will Burns.
With the word or words of the day, Jean had intrepid. I got 2 trepidation from Emery and a trepidation from Dewart. And Dewart, I also liked a particularly nice turn of phrase that you had, referring to one of your humanities teachers when she counseled you to not despair too profoundly. I thought that was a nice turn of phrase. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And our awe counter, Deward Straub.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. Jean Symington Craig had 3 awes, a double hee-hee. Will Burns.
What is that?
Will Burns had an Yoti is not here, but he had an and an eh. Mr. General Evaluator, you had 7 awes and an Funnemeller had 3 awes and an a you know. And a so-aw. I'm a big fan of so also. I have 1. Andal, you have 1 aw. Dan Craig had a double dynamite, which I just want to say out loud because it sounds kind of cool. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
And now our utility infielder fill-in joke master, Dan Craig.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow members, viewers at home. First, we have to determine how many of us are old enough to remember Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. Almost everybody. Roy Rogers, as you know, is the king of the cowboys. One day he went into the country and western store and bought a beautiful pair of boots. He just loved these boots. So he wore them around, you know, got off the trigger at the end of the day, and he put his boots by the back door. And he came out the next day, and some kind of cat had chewed him up. He was just furious. He was just, you know, he had his 2 6-shooters, and he was going to go find that darn cat. And he searched high and low, and he wasn't a very good hunter, so he didn't find the cat. But Dale, on the other hand, tracked down the cat. It turned out to be a mountain lion. She shot the mountain lion, threw it in the back of Clarabelle, the Jeep. I think that was in the Jeep. Drove it home, and she drove up and parked it, and she said the following. "Pardon me, Roy. Is that the cat that chewed your new shoes?" Yay!
We may or may not invite him to perform that role again. But it's now time for me to evaluate the evaluators. And my first evaluator, Joe T, is not here. But I will go ahead and make a couple of comments in regard to him. Joe T used the manual, or he started out using the manual. and he offered some excellent suggestions to Lewis, which I thought were right on target. And I did notice that Jyoti directed most of his comments to Lewis rather than including the whole audience. I was working hard to take notes and I lost a little track, but it seemed to me that he started out using the criteria, but I didn't think he followed through with that, and I got a little lost on what criteria he was speaking of. He did come around and get out in front of the lectern at one point late in his evaluation. And he did have a specific suggestion for Lewis, and he delivered that very tactfully, and so I think he did a very good job on that. So my suggestion for Jyoti is that he be more explicit and follow through with his evaluation criteria and get out in front of the lectern and move around a little more. Just in passing, Ryan Prana Miller, you were very well prepared with your cards and quotes, and you brought out an excellent selection of thoughts. I would just suggest that in between speakers, you have a little less to say, just keep it moving along a little smoother, okay? Jean, you always do a good job on table topics evaluation. It's very challenging, but you really work hard at it and have something to say for each speaker, a compliment and a suggestion, and you did that very well. My only suggestion for you is that while you move well on stage, all your movement was like from here to here, so I would like to see you address this side of the audience a little more. And those are my evaluations. I'll turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster, Rick Stark.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. And now it's time for the meeting awards. For Best Speaker, Louis Denbaum.
This is getting old, winning every time against myself.
A drum roll for Best Evaluator, Jean Symington Craig. Now for Best Table Topics. And we have a tie, Art and Will.
There we go.
Here you go, you got an extra one? You don't have to rip it in half, it's all right.
All right.
It's my pleasure to turn the meeting back over to our president, Jean Symington Craig.
About anybody else, but I have done a lot of laughing tonight.
Yep.
Lewis got us all lubed up, and then, I don't know, that story that Will said about being the little kid on the ice was hysterical, and then of course Dan always brings down the house. Right? And the gestures, all the gestures with the jokes and the humor and all really adds. So I really good about all that. One more thing I wanted to mention, just in a complimentary way, and Jyoti Raj is not here, and he we do teach in this club to evaluate using the evaluation criteria, so Emery's comments are all germane. But what I did like about what Jyoti Raj did, and something that we all want to do, is he read the project carefully. So the point that he brought out for Lewis, because he had read the project carefully, his evaluation suggestions were at a higher, more refined level. I had not done that project before. I couldn't have pulled out that kind of comment because that was something that was embedded in the project. Probably was not really in the evaluation criteria, although we don't know because he didn't use them, but just, so the devil is in the details on those projects. So when you're evaluating, and particularly advanced manuals that you don't have copies of, you can't review, and you're the evaluator, you need to get that ahead of time and really look and see what Toastmasters International is wanting the speaker to develop or accomplish, because then you're going to give good feedback. I really like the fact that he did that.
Jean,
Yeah.
just want to say, so I'm working through these advanced manuals now. I've taken your suggestion, and what I do is I scan the project and then attach it to an email that goes to my evaluator. As soon as I know who my evaluator is, they get the project, because you're right, they don't have these manuals, and so it's really, I think the onus should be on the speaker to get a copy of the project to the evaluator.
It is, and thank you, Louis, for bringing that up. The onus is on the speaker because you're the one that has the material. So you are the one that initiates and you get it over. Now, for example, Dan and Rick happen to work in the same building. So, you know, let's meet in the stairwell and I'll give you my manual and then there you go. I mean, so it doesn't have to be, if you can scan an email, perfect. If you want to meet and overlap some way, perfect. If you want to get together earlier in the day, whatever that is, but, so there are ways, but it's really important. Yes, Art?
Should you feel trepidation if the onus is on you?
No, because
It's too late to feel.
as I'm outlining, it doesn't have to be a fear-based situation. It can just be.
No, I actually thought that Jyoti's evaluation was excellent. He was putting his finger on something that I hadn't quite articulated for my own self, and he just nailed it.
Right.
With his point.
Yeah, so that was good, and that was something, so we all learn when the evaluator reads the project and gives important, relevant evaluation. The speaker learns and the rest of us learn about that. So that was very helpful. I've already mentioned the segueing. We had some really good examples here, and people were crafty about how they did it. They used care in terms of segueing. It's an art. So it's okay to segue if you do it with connecting the dots, moving along. As in real life, if someone asks you a question, you're in the middle of an interview and it's a question you don't know anything about, you can't just go, next. You can't do that. You have to try to take it and wrap it, and you know that is a muscle group that we want to learn how to do. If you can't directly answer it, see if you can swing it a little ways and have it make sense. So that was great. And also the last bit I want to compliment, and then we're going to take a vote on something, is the clapping was really good tonight. And I want to compliment Andal because she was really leading the clapping. I looked, every time I went over when it was clapping opportunity. And everyone, you know, when you hear somebody clapping enthusiastically, you start to do it more yourself. So thank you for that, new member. Clapping skills, who would have thought? I mean, who would have thought? We have, now we're back to where we were at the beginning, wrapping up. The December 22nd meeting, I think we have a quorum here. Do we have a quorum here? We're a little to 5. I think we had 10 people? So that's enough, isn't it? Because we're not quite 10. So.
We have 11, that's enough.
Okay. All right. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to see what the group is. The officers seem to feel that it would be better not to be here on the 22nd for people, because officers weren't going to be here either, and we didn't. On the one hand, we don't want to have guests come here Those of you who are at home, if you're planning to come on December 22nd, could you come either the week before or the week after? Okay. So does anybody have any pros or cons? Is there any discussion on that?
About having a meeting the
On the
22nd of this
22nd or
month.
not, or canceling it? So let's have a motion, one of the officers.
I move that we skip that meeting.
Okay, Tuesday, December 22nd.
I second.
All right, we second it, okay. So now it's lively. Now is there any discussion from those of you who were not in the officer meeting, feeling about that?
I don't think I'll be in town anyway, so.
I think I would be out of town anyway.
Let's do.
I'll call for point of information. If I can ask how many people here think they actually could be here on the 22nd, just
Yeah,
in
it
the
was, yeah, so how many people knew they would be here on the 22nd?
Could be here?
Could be, would like to sort of be here.
Well,
Could be here, could be here.
let's say could be.
Yeah, could be here, would not be out of town or otherwise caught up with out-of-town guests or something. Okay, so we have about 4. So that's
And then
answer
all
your
this,
question?
just another topic, all the people, the guests, like the students from UM, they'll be on break too, so it'll be unlikely there'll be many guests, I'm imagining. Like, the MEM classes are on hold, so we're not gonna have any classes coming, there's not gonna be any students, I mean, there might be people in town coming, but it's the holidays,
It's
it's
right
gonna be here.
before. Yeah, I actually wasn't sure which way you're gonna go with that, because I was saying, well, if students are on vacation, well, sure, they're gonna come over to Toastmasters.
Right, oh yeah.
I was like going, oh, okay, I hadn't thought of that. All right, so you're reinforcing
Reinforcing
that point.
yes.
Okay,
Cool.
okay.
22nd.
Are we ready to take a vote here? So we're ready, I mean, if there is someone who happens to come over here, what we should do, someone that day or the day, someone needs to come over here and put some note or something on the door. Would that be all right? Can someone who's gonna be in town? Dan and I are hopefully gonna be on our way to Texas. Is anybody gonna be shopping? I mean, you could be doing your grocery shopping. Will, you can be doing your
I'll
grocery
probably
shopping?
do my shop
Could you,
Tuesday.
could you like, all right, we'll talk.
We'll talk.
Okay, but that would be if you could just put something on the
Yeah.
door, no Toastmasters this week, come on back
Love to
next
see
week.
you next week.
Yes,
Gotcha.
just in case someone comes. All right, perfect. All right, okay, well, we haven't taken a vote yet, right? So that's the plan for fixing it. All right, are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor of not having the meeting on the 22nd, taking the break there? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, is there any opposed? Okay, great. No meeting on the 22nd, we'll have happy holidays. Finally, we also talked in our officer meeting about our special event, which is coming up February 2nd. We're gonna be talking about that each meeting now, just getting awareness up. We're going to be, Will is our Vice President of Marketing, he's going to be getting a poster, I'm in charge of the poster, to put on our Facebook page, and then we're gonna ask you all to go and share it so that we can really get the word out. Of course, this always works as we get towards it, is just inviting people to come over. We're gonna have Corey May, who is just really, really funny and accomplished. You're just gonna watch him and you're gonna go, I wanna be like him. It's just like that. He's really, really smooth. Great. So we want everyone to be in the room. Okay, so was there anything about, of course, it's all free. It's gonna be at the library, February 2nd, 7:30. We'll also have a panel. Louis is gonna be our panel moderator, and that's where we have 4 members who, we just kind of do a little interview on how, what Toastmasters has done and experiences with Toastmasters, so you can see that you can be absolutely trepid with the thought of speaking in public, and Toastmasters is still going to be beneficial for you. And not that you have to be a public speaker, you can just be someone who's trying to talk to other people. Okay, so let's just kind of be thinking that when we get into January, that's when it's really going to start. We're going to start moving with that. We do have a little bit of things that we're going to ask people to do. Probably it's going to be some postering, putting some things at your place where you work, where you shop, sticking some things up, because that's usually how we get people. We get people with a Fairfield Weekly Reader article and poster, and then also they see something, and it's gonna be in color, so hopefully it'll stick out. All right. With that, is there anything else I'm forgetting? Anyone? Any other club business? Okay, well, we are at 9:15, so I'm gonna call this meeting adjourned.
Yay!